The unmovable sovereign, Ozen the Immovable. This irredeemable lesson is a necessity needed before setting off anew. It is survival training to help these children stay alive and make it through the abyss.
This episode adapts the first chapter of the third volume of the manga, which is chapter 17. We are heading to the outer edge of the second layer for the training. Since we are further away from the vertical shaft, the force field and the curse are weaker here. Ozen explains that this is why the creatures in this area are mostly docile. Riko and Reg must survive for 10 days to pass the test and prove themselves. We see Rohanas here, which emit a really beautiful purple light. They only live in clean water. You can read more about them and other types of insects of the abyss on this page of the official art book. This hippo-like creature we see here is an Ottobas. Ottobas have miraculously become established in the abyss, despite being a non-native species brought from overseas. However, since they were unable to rival the predators that dominate the area surrounding the abyssal vertical shaft, they were driven to the farthest reaches of the inverted forest, where the force field is extremely weak. Although driven away from the central shaft, they adapted and grew much larger than those found in the original locale. We see how Riko and Reg struggle here. Zappu, along with Ozen, is watching them. Zappu says that Riko is certainly plunky, but her body can't keep up with what she wants to do. On the other hand, although Reg's body is extremely resilient, he constantly loses his nerve and gets scared easily. Zappu says that even though they can't do much alone, when they depend on each other and focus on what each is good at, they complement one another and can accomplish great things. This reminds Ozen of the only person that she could truly rely on, Lyza. Ozen is strong and immovable, and that is why she is independent and able to achieve her desires. But there is a limit to what one can do alone. Even if you live a long life and become as powerful as possible, it is still not enough to accomplish the truly miraculous things that people can achieve together. Ozen believes she is better than other people and sees little value in joining them. But this is not the real reason she is avoidant. Deep down, she always wanted companionship, to rely on someone else and share the burden. She is confused by this and doesn't want to face the fact that she desires connection. She repeatedly hit Lyza to push her away from her own deep desire for warmth, which she sees as a weakness. But Lyza was stubborn. No matter how much Ozen hit her, she kept trying to get closer and place herself in Ozen's heart. We see how she persists in making Ozen open up about her hair and the abyssal twirls. We'll talk about abyssal twirls in depth later. Lyza was the only person Ozen allowed to see her vulnerable side. When Ozen learned that Lyza was getting married, she felt shocked and deeply jealous. She wanted Lyza all for herself, and now she believed that she was becoming alone again. She is a human after all, and humans have opposing aspects within themselves. Humans are both weak and strong. Since Ozen cannot truly connect with others and accumulate value through relationships, she remains stuck at her respective value level, she. Reg and Riko try to catch the Ottobas here. They use both of their glowstones to flash it and capture it. Glowstones are fascinating. There is an extra page about them in the first volume. They are stones found in the abyss. After being polished, they shine brightly when vibrations of a certain frequency are applied. They can be used as artificial light. The light emits no heat, making it quite stable. However, they explode very easily under pressure, so they must be handled with care. After finishing the training and returning, Reg checks his bruises and notices that he is mostly healed. He also realizes that the pattern on his helmet has changed, though he doesn't know why. Later we learn that it's an ancient numeric system showing how many incinerator shots he has left. We'll talk more about that later. He's also a bit disappointed, realizing he probably won't be able to build up muscle and will remain physically the same. They eat with Ozen after showering and talk about the time dilation in the abyss. Ozen says that in 5th layer, it feels like weeks have passed, but when you return to the surface, months are gone. That means time flows almost 4 times faster on the surface. Later in chapter 70, Srajo claims that time passes 30 times faster in the 6th layer. This implies that the time dilation is not linear and likely resembles relativistic time dilation. If it behaves like an extreme dilation near a black hole, it may become infinite at the absolute bottom of the abyss. Based on relativity, the bottom would not be a place, but a moment in time, the end of time itself. This would mean that everyone who reaches the bottom of the abyss, no matter when or where they started, arrive at the exact same moment. Ozen also warns them not to stay long in the 5th layer, as they might encounter other white vessels. She lists those currently in the abyss. The Sovereign of Dawn, Bandrut the Novel. The Sovereign of Mystery, Srajo the Mysterious. The Sovereign of Guidance, Wakuna the Chosen. There is also a hint about the color theme of the layers, suggesting that both Wakuna and Lyza are in the 7th layer. In an earlier episode, when Uncle Habbo introduced the white vessels, he didn't mention Wakuna, which is strange. He may not know Wakuna is in the Abyss, while Ozen and Bandrut do. There is also an intriguing hint of another unknown white vessel in the manga. If you look closely at this depiction, one vessel doesn't match any we know. Perhaps it's the unknown white vessel who helped the priestess with the Haryumari collections. We'll probably find out soon. After eating, Ozen asks them to come to her chamber again. She gives Riko the Blaze Rip, the everlasting pickaxe, which used to be Lyza's main weapon. Blaze Rip contains everlasting gunpowder, which causes ongoing explosions on whatever it strikes. After consuming the oxygen around the impact, it creates a chain reaction that draws in surrounding oxygen to trigger further explosions. Planting the gunpowder causes a massive directional blast. As long as the target can be detonated, the explosions continue toward the desired point. The weapon can also contract for easier mobility. Ozen teaches them how to use it, so they won't need to rely on the incinerator as much. Here, Ozen tells Riko and Reg the secrets of the Abyss they must know to continue. A trove of knowledge passed down through countless generations of white vessels, the deepest voices of the Abyss. She tells them about the altar of the absolute boundary, which we see later in the 3rd movie. She also explained that white vessel timber acts as a key to activate certain classes of relics. She speaks of the mysterious ring of the 7th layer, which only a few white vessels are said to have seen. It's called the Ring of Essence, a ring of light, likely the same light as Reg's incinerator. In Volume 11, Donnie tells Paputa that someone related to Reg is waiting for them at the Ring of Essence, and they should prepare themselves. I have a theory here. Spinning black holes have ring-shaped singularities rather than single points. What Reg's incinerator does is similar to what singularities do, breaking math and rules, removing things from existence. But singularities may also be gateways to new worlds. Both time dilation and the ring may be inspired by black holes. Ozen also speaks of gatekeepers. This part is not included in the anime. She says that they are creatures that live along the path to the bottom of the netherworld. They are shrouded in mystery, and there have been no other mentions of them in the story so far. And now it's time to say goodbye and move beyond the 2nd layer. Ozen doesn't come to see them off. We see her alone, remembering her memories with Lyza. Ozen tells Lyza that the fact that Riko is still alive means she is being protected and hidden well. If it were revealed that Riko is Lyza's child, she would be kidnapped by ruffians. We don't know who these ruffians are or why they would want Riko, but they'll surely become important later. Lyza says that Riko is incredibly precious to her, and she is willing to sacrifice everything for her. She says that Riko's life is the result of an accumulation of many priceless things. Lyza explains that if she stays with Riko, she might steal Riko's right to set off on her own adventures, and that she herself would likely become desperate for the Abyss. This is incredibly important. The idea of Overprotective Mother. Solving every problem for your child is not love. Children must learn to be independent and solve problems on their own. At some point, parents must resist their natural desire to protect and let their children step outside their comfort zone, find their own path, and learn to survive an unjust and indifferent world. Failing to do so leads to unfulfillment in the parents as well, which can be deeply harmful. Carl Jung said, "The greatest burden a child can bear is the unlived life of a parent." Lyza asks Ozen to confront Riko with the brutal reality if she chooses to reach the bottom of the abyss in search of truth. She also asks Ozen to tell her how miraculous it is that she's alive and how to tackle the magnificent adventures awaiting her. Ozen rejects the second request, but says that if it's simply sending her to Lyza at the bottom, she can do. Ozen herself doesn't grasp the magnificence of accumulation, and that's likely why it makes her uncomfortable. This arc ends here. It was a rich arc where we learned the first level of value, she, and discovered an initial desire worth pursuing. The first story cycle is now complete. We integrated curiosity in the day arc and fear in the night arc, both necessary to descend further. And now the cycle begins anew. Please subscribe and share this video so more people can understand the magnificence of Made in Abyss. See you in the next one.